Hello. Welcome to this episode of Spiritual Resilience and Personal Power Through Awareness. What a perfect time to speak about this right now as the world appears to be on fire. This episode is about finding your deepest truth. This lifetime is a journey of finding your deepest truth. This lifetime is a journey of everyone finding their deepest truth and aligning with it. Every situation in your life that is a source of struggle or pain is an area in which you are learning about being true to your soul, your innermost self. You have many roles that you play, and you experience different truths at different times. You might rehearse a speech before you talk with someone. And ultimately, when you meet them, you might find yourself saying something completely different. So you ask, what is truth? What is true one moment might not be true the next. Is truth fluid, or is there a deeper truth that will last from moment to moment? All of you are fluid at the personality level with many identities. This is true of everyone, and it's at the heart of why there is so much conflict right now. This is because everyone, for the most part, is operating from the personality level and trying to make each other wrong. Your soul, your core self, their core self, holds that deeper truth that is unchanging and constant. It is the one common thread that runs between you and every living thing. Not just people, but every living thing. And when you align with that, that's where the common ground is going to be between you, and then it allows you all to be unique and different at a personality level without trying to make each other wrong. Compassion is the ability to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And society at large is having a really hard time with that right now. Finding truth means living from your heart and moving closer to your soul. Finding truth means holding every situation to the light. It may seem like everything is going wrong right now, but what is really happening is that every situation that has been there for eons, that has been happening behind closed doors, in dark corners, in hidden recesses of the mind, in all of these dark places, they haven't been exposed to the light. And what is that light that I'm speaking of? It comes foremost from the heart and is a deep level of compassion. In developing the quality of compassion, you will be developing the ability to know and express your deeper truth. All of you have experienced being with people who caused you pain by not honoring or valuing you for who you are. You may have wanted something from them that you were not getting. You can always handle the situation by approaching it from a deeper level of compassion. You may ask, what's the benefit of expressing my deepest truth when no one's able to hear me? And my answer to that is, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You're doing it out of alignment and respect for the relationship with your soul, and giving it a voice. It doesn't matter if anyone can hear you. It only matters that you value being in integrity with yourself and speaking the truth from that place. That's where the empowerment comes from. When you live and express your truth with love and kindness, it brings the joy, peace, and serenity that so many of you desire that you're just not getting from trying to get that from other people. And where does that come from? It comes from childhood. In your childhood, you are conditioned to seek approval. You're conditioned to seek attention. I see this in my own 5-year-old grandson right now. You know, he's at a stage in his development where he's not the center of attention anymore that he was when he was 2. Because when you're 2, and, you know, leading up to that place and even beyond 2 years old, being a parent, or really anyone, you know, we automatically give attention to children because they require our attention, because they aren't able to occupy themselves or keep themselves from hurting themselves and those kinds of things. So we're hardwired to give that constant attention to a child. But if no one has the development enough to teach them along the way as they get a little bit older that that isn't how the world operates, and that they have to shift from seeking external attention to giving themselves the attention that they deserve. And so we grow up that way. We grow up missing out, feeling like we didn't get our needs met. But that's part of, growing into a spiritual adult. You align with that truth. You express your truth with love and kindness. And that will bring you the joy, the peace, and the serenity that you're looking for. Truth also comes from the feeling level. How many times have you had a feeling to call somebody and found that he or she was thinking of you when you did, and it was the perfect time to reach out to that person? How many times have you had a feeling that it was not the time to call someone, but you ignored it and called anyway, maybe out of a sense of obligation, and found that the energy did not work between the two of you, or the person was just not available? How many times have you had a feeling to call somebody and you ignored it? And then something happened with that person, or something happened with you, and you have regrets for having not reached out to them for whatever reason. Every one of you has the ability to fine-tune your capacity to sense energy and know truth. And how do you find this deeper inner truth? How do you step outside of all the images you live by and the roles you play? How do you turn down the volume of the many voices outside of you that are coming from all directions that seem to create a never-ending stream of confusion? You don't have to struggle and go through pain in order to grow. We are conditioned as a society to do that, but it's a myth. It's been powerful, it's been effective, but it isn't a requirement. And what causes that pain and struggle? 9 times out of 10, it's because you have gone against your inner knowing, your inner truth. How many times have you known that the job that you're in is not the right job for you, and you stay anyway? How many times have you known that the relationship you're in is not the right relationship for you, and you stay anyway? How many times have you known at a deep gut level that aligning yourself with a certain person doesn't feel right from the beginning, but you do it anyway because you're trying to answer to inner child feelings of loneliness, of not ever having learned how to create your own self-soothing? When we go against those feelings, that's where the pain and the struggle is. The doorway to deeper truth is awareness. It is a paying attention to and holding up the vision of truth. The more you act from your integrity, and acting from your integrity means when you know something and you do the complete opposite, that is not acting out of your own integrity. That is acting outside of the lines of your own integrity. So when you act from your integrity, the more evolved you're going to become, and the more clear your voice is going to be. Every situation in your life that requires truth from you, that requires you to reach into a deeper level of your being, is an opportunity to grow. The more pain and struggle you experience, the greater amount of energy you clean up when you live from a deeper level of truth, unless you're going to expect other people to clean that up for you. Thank those situations in your life that seem difficult or painful, because they're showing you something. Know that they are opportunities to reach a deeper truth. Not a truth that will separate you, bring you anger, justify your feelings of separation, or make the other person wrong and you right, or vice versa, but a truth that will allow you to connect at a deeper level. And aren't we seeing this in our world, right? Everybody is pointing fingers outside of themselves. They're in deep, deep, deep pain. And they point to the other person as the source of their pain. Instead of really looking at what that situation is there to teach them and show them about themselves, of how out of alignment with themselves they are. To raise your energy higher, go inward and ask if you are withholding from yourself the truth of what you feel or think about the other person. This will create a blockage in your throat chakra. If you do not let yourself recognize the truth, you will have another person and another sent your way until you get in touch with your deepest truth. That's why we go into the same types of relationships. We're sent the same type of relationships over and over and over and over and over again, until we really get that deeper truth. For instance, maybe you've been the type of person that has always wanted affection and nurturing from your partner. You get into relationships that do not satisfy these deeper needs, and you tell yourself you should not and do not need to have your needs fulfilled. Your deepest truth is that you do need this, and until you get in much touch with that truth and act upon it, you'll continue to experience pain. Every time you act and speak the truth with integrity, you lighten your energy. You lighten that heaviness. You unburden yourself. You lay that pain and suffering down. Your past beliefs, lesser thoughts, and stuck emotions can appear as a fog around you that stands between you and the light of your soul. But each time you speak and connect with the light of truth, the energy around you becomes finer and lighter until the fog is dissipated and the light of your soul pours into you and radiates through you and out to the world. Every drama in your outer life is a reflection of a drama in your inner life. Every person you are interacting with in your outer life symbolizes an interaction of energy that is going on within you. Think of a person in your life you're struggling with right now. Imagine you are looking at yourself through his or her eyes. Put yourself in his or her place. Go into your heart and imagine coming from a deep, compassionate level of truth when you are with this person. For example, if you've been feeling angry with or resentful of someone and you open up to experience your deepest truth, you may realize that you really do love this person even if he or she disappointed you. And from that place within you, you can let go of the hurt and speak to this person with love. And just like we talked about before, hold a higher vision. Picture this person responding with joy as the energy between you grows lighter. Every person and event offers you an opportunity to evolve yourself and move into a higher consciousness. The greatest reward is that once you clear up an issue, you will usually never have to deal with it again. Another person cannot hurt you unless you are hurting yourself. I'm going to repeat this because we're seeing this in the world. Another person cannot hurt you unless you are hurting yourself. You will find yourself in situations that will be a mere reflection of the ways in which you are hurting yourself. When you shift that, you will find yourself automatically aligned with being somewhere else than a place that is going to be hurtful to you. You cannot be betrayed, undervalued, or unloved unless you are doing it to yourself by not valuing and loving yourself. This is going to be where your greatest power is going to lie. Once every person on this planet awakens to that aspect, all fighting ends, all war ends. The people that are the perpetrators, they're looking for the ones that don't believe in their own innate value and worth. That's the ones that they prey on. But when there's no more prey, there's no more predator. That's something to think about. you have the greatest power of all. The greatest power of all. And that is the ability to heal and evolve yourself. When you change, heal, and evolve yourself, everything around you that represented your inner struggle dissolves. I'm going to say this again. When you change, heal, and evolve yourself, everything around you that represented your inner struggle dissolves. We get so focused on the problem. We chew on the problem, we chew on the problem, we chew on the problem, we chew on the problem. The common denominator in our problems is ourselves. If we have repeating themes and patterns, the common denominator is ourselves. Just think about the people in this world that have overcome enormous odds and great adversity and rose to the occasion. They had incredibly difficult backgrounds, economic backgrounds, abusive backgrounds. Maybe they came from another country all by themselves and showed up here in the United States and didn't know a single soul. They overcame their own adversity and their own struggle. They knew at some point that the only way to create change in their lives is for them to make a change, whatever that needs to look like. You can heal yourself by speaking the truth from a deep level of compassion. For instance, you might be thinking that someone does not value your feelings. As you look one level deeper at the truth, you say to yourself, she's just being herself. She's not very aware of anyone's feelings, not just mine. She's probably not even aware of her own feelings. Because you can't be aware of another person's feelings if you're not aware of your own. And when you're aware of your own feelings, it's super easy to be aware of another person's feelings. Or he is in pain himself and does not realize he's hurting me. As you look even deeper, you realize that you've let people treat you that way, that you've not valued your own feelings, and that there have been many times you wanted to speak up, and you didn't do it. You can continue to look deeper until you feel a release from the pain and acceptance for the person involved. Look at the different personalities within you. One is very strong. Another observes everything you do with detachment. Another is young and emotional. And another is very wise. If there's any drama going on around you, you can know that there's a drama going on inside of you between your various parts. So again, when we're operating in the outside world, when everyone's operating in the outside world with all their personalities and they're all clashing, this is a reflection of the clash that is happening with all of the parts of ourselves. The parts of ourselves that we denied, that we've pretended aren't there, the parts of ourselves that we dislike, or maybe the parts of ourselves that are really powerful and are gifted, and we're afraid of that part of ourselves. We're afraid of that power. One woman felt betrayed by her girlfriend when a secret she had confided was told to another. Upon closer examination, she realized that she'd betrayed her true self in many ways, and that the outer drama was meant to show her what she was doing to herself. I could write an entire novel about the times in my life that I did that. I was that. And I'm not 100% yet. Once we peek under the covers and we begin looking at these things, it becomes a full-time job. And it's one that you continue doing until you take your last breath. So for as much awareness as you will develop, you will continue to be developing awareness. You will continue to be investigating these uninvestigated parts of yourself, these uninvestigated and unembraced parts of yourself. Being compassionate means being truthful. How often do you rehearse in your mind what you're going to say to someone because you're justifying yourself? You're protecting your self-image. You're talking about how great you are or how right you are. Every time you find yourself mentally rehearsing a situation, as everyone does, ask, can I express one deeper level of truth here? You can always find at least one small way to be more loving, understanding, compassionate. Finding your deepest truth means looking within. It means not blaming other people, not playing the victim, and not spending time feeling sorry for yourself. When you look more deeply at any situation, you'll discover that you set it up for your own growth. In any situation where you felt you were a victim, you always had an inkling of what was going on, and you ignored the opportunities to change things. As you look more deeply at things that really bother you, I'm going to propose a thought. Taking a deep breath here. Nothing you are upset about is caused by what you think it is. Some of you in my coaching may have heard me refer to the potato chip lady. And I coined her that because she had an issue with things that really didn't have anything to do with what was really going on. You might be upset that your friend accused you of doing something you did not do. But when you look at that more closely, you might find that it is a recreation of an earlier pain, played out over and over and over again in changing scenery with different people until you resolve it. It may be a reenactment of a childhood drama in which someone accused you of things you didn't do, and you never really quite got over that. And because of the shame or embarrassment or any number of things that you were avoiding feeling in that moment, you have a secret fear of replaying that out over again. But that fear and the repression of those feelings are exactly the attraction point for the circumstances. And to take it one step further, you'll even sabotage yourself. You'll even create the scenario, the opportunity when there wasn't one, to replay that experience. Strong reactions of pain, anger, or resentment you feel in present time are almost always caused by a childhood experience that evoked similar feelings. I'm going to take it one step further and say that it could also come from something that occurred in another lifehood, also known as another lifetime. It could also be something that was passed down from generation to generation through your ancestry. Your parents taught you how to respond a certain way to avoid a certain situation based on what was projected onto them, and then what was projected on their grandparents, and so on and so forth, and it goes back and back and back and back. This might be a stretch to take in, but you could even go so far as to say that it lives in your DNA. And why wouldn't it? Because all of these other traits that were passed down from generation to generation are in your DNA. There are literal DNA markers for them. And I'm sure as we discover more and more about DNA, science will find that there indeed is a marker for those specific things. But here's the cool thing, is that even if it's in your DNA, nothing is written in stone. You can change your DNA on every level. So let's say there's a propensity for alcoholism in your family. It gets passed down from generation to generation to generation. Some of that is in the DNA. Some of it is simply just passed down. Years of alternating between dependence on some kind of addiction and codependence. Those interplay with one another. So science has found the markers for that in DNA. But you can't completely blame it on your DNA. All it does is it tells you that the propensity is there, and that you just need to put things in place to cancel that out and do something different and make a different choice. And once that becomes a new neural pathway in the brain, that will change your DNA. You have the ability to change your DNA in any moment. Whether it's childhood experiences or past life experiences or ancestral stuff that doesn't have anything to do with you, if you're unconscious and you're not looking deeply, you're going to recreate the pain so that you can evolve and move beyond it. Next time you feel angry at someone, just stop. Take a deep breath. Stop. Take another deep breath. Close your eyes and go within. Acknowledge that you have had similar experiences or felt these emotions before. Realize that you're reliving some childhood or past life or ancestral decision or painful event, and that now is an opportunity to end this pattern in your life and instead experience your deepest truth. Realize that you draw other people into your life to play out certain roles with you that will help you evolve. And then the healing process then begins to let go of any anger or blame you feel toward them. And if you peel away another layer, once you recognize that you've been doing this and you've been perpetuating this, release any anger or blame you're going to feel toward yourself. Because if you're not forgiving yourself, you're not going to be able to forgive others, and you're going to continue to perpetuate it. You have the ability to know your truth. The truth is that you are a great being. Own that. You have within you the compassion, courage, strength, and wisdom to live your life from a high level at all times. It just takes practice. You didn't get to the point that you are without having practiced doing what you do many times over. So it becomes a habit. And so to change that habit and do something different, to live your life from a high level at all times, requires practice. You act out roles that do not reflect the greatness of who you are, but they're only roles. They're only roles. It's not your true self. The more awareness you have of your thoughts, the more control you'll have over the drama happening inside of you. You might think of your thoughts as little people who come marching up. 1, 2, 3. And if you could just stop each one and hold it up to the light of your soul, you'd find better ways of thinking. It's a matter of attention and awareness, examining each thought you have in order to become aware of whether or not it's really a true statement. And you can literally ask yourself, is that true? Speaking and acting from truth means paying attention to your energy. This is huge. Often you don't notice what's happening until the situation is so painful. You must go inward, meditate, think, and put yourself in another person's shoes. In our society, we just are not doing that. We are just not doing that at all. We just have knee-jerk reactions to things. And then we wonder why we get into trouble. If everyone just paused, took a deep breath, and say, you know what? I feel too activated right now. And I really just want to sit with myself and contemplate this. And I'll get back to you. That would be a huge game changer. And sometimes you don't have time to do that in the moment. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you still need to react. You can still say, I think that I need to table this conversation until I've had more time to process it correctly. Until I have time to service both you and myself properly. Let's just not talk about this right now. And I'm not talking about avoidance. Give that person a timeline, a reasonable timeline for when you can come back and discuss it. And then I would furthermore, in being true to yourself, ask them to do the same thing that you're going to be doing. And the thing is, the cool thing about all of this is that you might create those scenarios specifically, like that's the whole reason you would have created the situation, is to give you the opportunity to practice that. And if you were to do these things frequently, your life would be a lot easier. Facebook is notoriously terrible at trying to pull us in and engage us in things. and get us all fired up. But if you feel yourself being highly activated by something, I highly recommend that you use that as your cue to step away and go sit back and look at that feeling and ask yourself where's that coming from, and what part of you is seeking resolution. What's really the deeper truth here? What's really going on? If you did this when you felt uncomfortable and you went inward and opened your heart with compassion, things wouldn't reach a crisis level. You just wouldn't be seeing what you're seeing in the world right now. If every person did this. But since we don't have any control over the rest of the world, and the only thing that we have control over is ourselves, that's why this work is so important. Because we really cannot change other people. All we can do is change ourselves, do that work, reflect inward, make a shift, and act from that place, and be the embodiment of what we want to see in the world. And watch how curious people get. People will start to get curious. And they may watch you ride through the waves of various things that show up in your life and watch how you handle it. They may listen to the words that you have to say. They might start coming to you and asking you questions. And if that's the case, that's when you offer ways to make changes. Facebook is an excellent place for you to state your case. Just don't have an agenda about whether or not anybody's going to like it, whether they accept it, whether it makes them angry. You know, like any number of things can happen as a result of that. If no one has asked for your input, then the sky is the limit as to who responds. But if you're coming from a place of truth, usually what happens is the people that are in agreement with it will agree with it, and the people that aren't, they just move on. The only time really that somebody becomes really inflamed about what you have to say or what you post or anything like that is because you're not quite confident in what you're saying or in valuing your right to say it, even if it falls on deaf ears. You could think of social media as like a dress rehearsal for living this way. Every time you rehearse in your mind what you'll say to people, you're sending energy into your future interaction with them before you've even said a word. And as a result, you oftentimes will be met with that tension because they can already feel it. You're sending your energy out there before you even say anything. You're sending your energy out there even if you don't say anything. Often you rehearse so that you can express a deeper and more compassionate level in your actual communication. You anticipate your ability to do that, and that's good. If you can make this the goal of the mental rehearsal, then you'll find that your relationships will clear up. They might actually clear up before you even say anything. But if you mentally rehearse having an argument with the person and hashing it out, then it's going to play out that way whether you say anything or not, because they're picking up on that energy. But if you mentally rehearse communicating with them on a compassionate level, you're sending that to them. And a lot of times these things will work themselves out before there's ever even a conversation. I could actually write a book of the number of times that that's happened to me. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty magical. Life is so incredibly magical if you let it be, if you get out of your own way. If you're rehearsing to protect or justify yourself or get something from another person, you're going to find yourself uncomfortable when you're speaking to them. You'll have an incomplete communication, one that might lead to further energy expenditure and perhaps further struggle. That's why when you're angry with someone, it's better to wait until you can speak from the loving space of your deepest truth rather than acting out of anger. Why is it so difficult to look another person in the eyes and express your deepest truth? Is it because you fear the other person will not love you if you reveal your deeper being? Man, I can tell you countless times when I was unable to look someone in the eye because I was afraid that they wouldn't love me anymore, or I was afraid that they would think I was bad, or any number of things. And sometimes it was just out of a fear of being vulnerable. So for some of you, that's what it's going to be, is a fear of being vulnerable, because you're exposing yourself. It's often easier to play out roles that say, I'm strong and invincible and I'm a perfect person. I call that fronting. So a lot of times when somebody's fronting and they put that on, they're literally just puffing themselves up. And if you can see beyond that and see the incredibly deep level of insecurity that person may be feeling, or a lack of self-love that person may be feeling, you can come from a place of compassion in understanding that. So up until that point, you've had this strong and invincible and I'm a perfect person. And that's easier than to take down the walls and reveal who you are to another person. And when you have nothing to lose, it certainly is easier to express your deepest truth. Man, I've had some really intense relationships with people at times in my life. Where I tried so hard to be that version of myself that I thought I needed to be, or that version of myself that they thought I was. And when all the masks come off and you make all the mistakes, you both make all the mistakes, and you've both seen all of these different sides of each other, the masks come down and it gets easier to express your deepest truth. And out of that oftentimes comes incredibly deep softness and compassion and infinitely less conflict. The universe may put you in a situation and when you have nothing to lose, so that you can experience speaking your deepest truth, which can deepen your connection and lift the relationship to a new level that you never thought was possible. However, to speak the truth, you do not need to get to the point where you have nothing to lose. You don't have to push it that far. Imagine in front of you right now anyone you would like to connect with to clear up an issue or make the relationship between you better. See the person's face in front of you and his or her eyes looking at you with complete understanding and compassion. Visualize that in your mind. Because as you're doing that, you're already communicating your desire to have that kind of relationship with them. So see that. Picture the person accepting your truth Mentally say something to him or her that will offer both of you an opportunity to feel more loving, connected, and at peace with each other. As you think over what you'll say to someone, hold the image of your deepest truth and practice loving ways of expressing it. Each time you rehearse, before you speak with someone, you become more efficient and confident, and you will find an even better way to express yourself. And as you're learning how to do that, it's equally important to be kind and gentle with yourself. When you first learn to begin to speak truth, you may find that it feels awkward. And you may find that there's a part of you that criticizes you for not having done it better. But it's like learning how to ride a bike or learning how to do anything that we're not used to doing. It takes practice. So if you find yourself reviewing past events, don't make yourself wrong for the way you spoke or acted, because that will actually just perpetuate more energy of guilt and shame on top of whatever guilt and shame you're already feeling. Instead, recognize that you did the best you knew how. You can send energy backward or forward so that the energy you send from your heart can heal a situation in the past too. Or you can make it better in the future. So this is the nature of forgiveness. The nature of forgiveness, where maybe in the past you operated in a certain way, or a person operated in a certain way. If you want to continue to perpetuate more of the same, you'll keep rehashing that past moment. And we're really good at that as humans. We're really good at doing that. And then we wonder why nothing ever changes. But if you practice instead sending that energy of compassion and love and understanding to the part of you that responded a certain way in the past, or to the part of a person that responded to something in a past, you can actually change the future interactions with both yourself and that other person. You can send energy backward or forward so that the energy you send from your heart can heal a situation in the past or make it better in the future. Recognize then that what you learned opened up your truth. It helped you to become better at this. It was an opportunity to become better at this. At a certain level, everyone knows the truth about each other. You might not want to acknowledge that you're aware of the truth, but you do indeed know it at some level. And this is true of everybody. There's no hiding from each other, and there's no need to do so. You are a magnificent, beautiful, alive human being doing the very best you can in any given moment. You evolve when you match your words and actions, so your truth and awareness of who you are. You may think it's not kind to say what's on your mind or to speak out if what you want to say requires asserting yourself or asking for what you need. You might think you're doing someone a favor by covering up your feelings, but that underlying resentment may be setting you up for a drama where the only way out is through acknowledging and living your truth. You might even have to end a relationship if that's what it takes to detach enough to speak the truth. Sometimes, you just have to create that space for yourself. Honoring your deepest truth is a great gift to you and to the other person. This doesn't mean that you should express truth by making the other person wrong. When you do speak your deepest truth, do so with love for yourself and for the other person. If what you say is damaging or harmful to the other person, then you've not come from your deepest truth, which is always loving. And that is the one core thing amongst all levels of truth. Real truth is always loving. It may not always be easy, but it's loving. An example might be a woman who's dating a man who later left her for another woman. She's very hurt, and on the surface wants to strike out at him and make him feel bad about himself. Her first inclination, those of you that are my female students, I'm sure that you all can relate to this at one time or another, if not all the time. Her first inclination, since she felt hurt and rejected, was to make him wrong. But as she got in touch with her deeper truth, she realized that she truly loved him, wanted him to be a friend, and saw that what she'd done in past relationships, close her heart and walk away, was not an expression of her truth. Even though she felt hurt, she was able to recognize the love underlying the pain and express that love in her communication. Within several months, the man came back to her, a new level of respect and love for her in his heart. Many of you hold up an image of truth, and yet you deceive yourself about who you are. You do so when you imagine yourself as a victim, because you're not a victim. You're a high, powerful being, and it's high time that you own that. You deceive yourself anytime you don't acknowledge your beauty, your wisdom, and your power. Anytime you find yourself sinking into feelings of self-pity or negativity, you're not living your deepest truth. When you deceive yourself by thinking of yourself as a victim, you carry that energy within you, and you'll experience it played out in the world around you. If you're telling yourself that you're not powerful, you begin to set up a resonance in your energy field, and you attract people and events to you that mirror that thought. Okay? So thoughts are electric, and the emotions that are connected to those thoughts are magnetic. So as you're thinking the thoughts and feeling the feelings, you're magnetizing to you that exact same vibration. So this works for the times when you're feeling good as well. Like, have you ever noticed when you're in the zone and you're feeling really good, that people are really drawn to you? That's because your thoughts and your emotions are an electromagnetic reflection of what is coming back to you. As you become truthful about who you are, so will the universe reflect that truth. So I want you to think about a situation that you want to improve with someone, and imagine that the very wisest part of you, your highest being, your higher self, the confident, powerful, loving part of you is handling it like a boss. See a smile on the other person's face and talk to the person in your mind. You're already creating the scenario for changing the situation just by doing that. Anytime you find yourself speaking in a way that's not confident and high, first acknowledge that you're doing the best you know how. Sometimes we're just not there, and that's okay, to acknowledge that. Appreciate all the parts of yourself. It's not going to help you evolve if you make the high part right and the emotional part wrong. That's self-defeating and it won't work. But keep focusing on the higher part of yourself and give love to the insecure part, and then watch it evolve. Love the part of you that's not responding the way in which you're holding this higher vision of yourself. Love that part of you. Give it love. Watch as you rehearse scenes in your mind. Observe yourself playing out your roles. Look at the reaction you anticipate from the other person. This is so important. Realize that you often get what you expect. Hold in your mind a vision of yourself speaking your truth in a most loving and compassionate way, putting yourself in the other person's shoes. This creates softness between you. Doing this is one of the highest and most loving things you can do for your relationship. Even if they perceive something differently than you, even if how they see the world is different than you, perhaps there's never going to be any resolution around that. But if you envision yourself speaking in the most loving and compassionate way possible, and that person is responding to you in a loving and compassionate way, then does it really matter what their worldview is and what your worldview is? So maybe we don't have to change each other's mind in that way. When you imagine the other person responding with warm understanding, also imagine that no matter how the other person responds, you're going to stay centered and balanced no matter what, and you're going to stay in touch with your truth. Hold your ground. Stay grounded and centered. Stay with you. Don't leave yourself. And you'll notice a sense of joy and energy will follow, because it takes far more energy to withhold the truth than to deny and avoid it than it does to recognize it and speak and act upon it. Initially, it may take energy to open up, especially if you're uncomfortable doing this. But all of this is about practice, practice, practice. Remember that it took you a long time to develop the patterns that you've developed. It's going to take you a little while to get over the hurdle of energy it takes to open up. But consider that the overall results. The amount of time spent thinking about the situation and the pain you feel will be over. And then you'll have hours of free time. And then what will you do with all that extra time? You release creative energy when you free yourself from any situation that does not honor you and the truth of your being. As you speak, practice accuracy and precision with your words. Watch with care every statement you make and attitude you assume in order to negate any tendency toward emotional misrepresentation. Don't overemphasize details or exaggerate the usual and commonplace into the unusual and uncommon. Develop the ability to produce a picture of things as they really are, and it will help you create what you want in physical reality. And what I mean by that is to keep it simple, basically. Keep it simple. When you develop the ability to produce a picture of things as they really are without making them overcomplicated, then it's easier to bring forth what you're really wanting. As you match your words with the truth, your energy will go higher and higher. You'll have more physical energy, more peace, and better connections with people. You'll replace those friends who do not want to relate to you from a deeper truth with new friends who do. And you'll be okay with it. And they will too. The old uncomfortable situations you have set up will not be able to survive in your new level of light. They'll dissolve. And I want you to put this template over the world as well. When you start being this in your world, your point of attention will stop being focused on those outer events that you don't have any control over. I believe that a lot of why things are so volatile right now is because you have a situation that has happened that requires awareness from all people, which is a good thing. That's what peaceful protests are for. But not everybody's meant to go out there and protest. I personally, at this time, don't feel that that's what my role is. My role is to create these meditations and to help you come from within yourself and change your own reality. And I do this one heart at a time, one person at a time. Because I know what happens is the more people that I'm able to impact in that way, one by one, it creates a ripple effect. Because then they will have a positive effect on other people. So if I create a quality connection with you, with one person, and I'm able to really help you cultivate a different way of being with yourself and in your world, and shifting your attention from the things that you can't control, and I know that that's going to have a ripple effect that is way more powerful than me standing out on the street and protesting in a huge crowd of angry people that can't even hear their own thoughts. And when you're in a crowd of angry people that can't hear their own thoughts, for every one of them is another person standing next to them with a can of gasoline and a match to pour even more fuel on that fire. And no good really comes of that. It might feel good in the moment to release some of that, but ultimately, long-term solutions come from connecting with yourself on an inner level and making decisions to do things differently for your own empowerment and ultimately for the empowerment of the people around you. And then watch how much your life changes. People will notice. They will notice and they'll start asking questions. And when they're asking questions, then they're more open. And when they're more open, they're more receptive. And when they're more receptive, the more capable they are of hearing you. And so now we're going to start moving into our meditation for finding your deepest truth. Thank you so much for joining me today. This one was longer, and necessarily so. It's a very important and pivotal point in one's development. And it's one that I continue to work on myself. I've been doing this for 30 years that I'm aware of. If I were to think about other situations that I wasn't as conscious about, I could even say that I've been doing it since I was 10, because I have some early memories of making different decisions than what was projected onto me. But I'm always finding deeper and deeper layers. But my ability to find deeper and deeper layers just gives me the capacity to hold you at deeper and deeper levels of compassion and understanding. And that's probably going to be refreshing. So per usual, get into a comfortable position. Maybe get yourself a drink of water, use a restroom, whatever you need to do. And then we'll move on to the next segment, which is the meditation. Thank you again for joining me. And I hope that this is really beneficial to you. Namaste. And now getting into a comfortable position, either sitting up or lying down. If you find that you are falling asleep during these meditations, it's okay that you're falling asleep. If you are wanting to have more conscious awareness, I would recommend beginning the process of starting to sit up during your meditations and your breath connection to help keep you present. So if up until this point you've been laying down during your meditations and you're finding that you're falling asleep, I would recommend that you go ahead and sit up this one. This meditation isn't directly connected to the material in this week's session, but it is directly connected to some concrete ways of being through everything that is happening at this time as we're coming out of the initial fear and panic of a pandemic that has all but disappeared and faded into the throes of the manifestation of what is really the war between light and darkness, and how we tend to project light and darkness onto skin color, and those aren't mutually exclusive. The reality is that if we're all coming from a soul level, we are all tapped in to the same source, and we're all the same, but we've specifically come here to experience ourselves as different personalities with different experiences, and that no one experience is wrong. So we're going to drop down, or rather rise up, into increasing your inner light and radiating light specifically for these times. As a new light is dawning for humanity, It's creating worldwide changes. Not just now, but in the past few years and in the future. This new light is revealing more of the divine self in all of life, bringing all of life into greater alignment with the divine plan, perfection, and purpose. If you want to assist humanity and all life during this time of the pandemic, open to the light within you, connecting your breath, breathing in and breathing out, calling in the light from all directions, from the sun, from the galactic center, from all of the stars, from the light that's emanating from the planet, absorbing that into every cell and every molecule, because you are the offspring of this light. All beings are. So breathe that in. Breathe it into your bones, your bone marrow, your organs, your lungs, your brain, every bit of you. And breathe it in so deep that you feel permeated with it. And then focus your awareness on your heart center. That's going to be where that light is going to be expressed through you and within you. And call upon your soul. Your intention is enough. And let the illumination of your soul pour through you. In this moment, commit to being a beacon of light, bringing hope and inspiration to everyone you contact. The light of your soul reveals your divine self, the innermost part of your being. To connect with your divine self, relax your body and clear your mind. Let yourself grow more peaceful, more present in this moment. If you wish to learn more about contacting your divine self in more expanded ways, please feel free to contact me and I will be happy to guide you through that. Let go of your thoughts and open to the divine within you in a moment of silence. Ask your true innermost self to reveal itself to you. Allow more of the consciousness of your divine self to become your consciousness. Sense your inner light becoming brighter and more visible with this contact. The light of the true self within you is shining outward through you, like the light coming from a lighthouse. As the true self within you reveals itself, notice how brightly your inner light shines forth. In this light, you may be able to sense thousands of souls all around you on the inner planes. Greet these souls, trusting that they are there and happy to connect with you. Everyone's light is growing brighter as the light of the divine self increasingly shines forth from within each of them. An immense group light forms, becoming a beacon of light for humanity. Sense the light all of you are creating together. Open to the light and consciousness that is being offered to you by the masters and guides, inner teachers, angels, beings of light, animal guides, helpers and allies, ancestors. Allow their love and light to amplify your inner light even more, to assist you in deepening your contact with the divine self, so you can become a more steady, radiant, and enduring light. You are immediately lifting everyone who is connected to or in resonance with you as you do this. Feel the peace and reassurance that is here in this space, in this moment. You have lifted above mass consciousness and are able to experience a world of peace and harmony. Let your fears, concerns, and worries fall away. From this high vantage point, there is a sense that all is well, and that everything that is happening will eventually result in a better world. Acknowledge yourself now as a leader, teacher, and healer, for you are as you work in this way. Sense this group light embracing all group and world leaders, strengthening their ability to contact the divine within them, so they can act with vision and clarity, making good choices and decisions. Picture now a positive future for yourself and for humanity. Be aware of the impact of your words and thoughts. Thoughts are electrical, and the emotions that are attached to those thoughts are magnetic. So if you have a thought that is charged by an emotion, for better or worse in terms of how you perceive it, you will attract more of the same to you. So learn to choose wisely what you spend your time thinking about. Refuse to live in fear or energize negative scenarios. Resolve to support others by offering hope, encouragement, and inspiration. And sometimes it's not always airy-fairy. Inspiration can come in the way of a very powerful force, empowering you to stand in your light and truth and acknowledge the love that you are. As you maintain and sustain your inner light and support and encourage others, you not only strengthen those around you, but this will come back to you as greater strength and stability for yourself. This is the greatest act of service available to you, even if it feels like you are not capable of assisting in any other way. Imagine now the group light of thousands around the world, and your light expanding to include and embrace your friends and loved ones, all who are responsive to this light, then all humanity and the plant, animal, and mineral kingdoms. Hold every form of every life form you can think of, from every person, even those that you perceive as completely dark and unworthy. They need your light more than anyone. They need this light more than anyone. They need to be reminded more than anyone. So hold them in that light. Hold them in that light when the rest of the world would give up on them. Hold them in their potential. Hold them in their highest potential. You don't have to know what it is. Just feel love in your heart. Call up the love that you feel for anyone or anything, and send that love to everything that could be assisted by your love, and let go of any attachment of how that needs to manifest for that person. And now expand this out to every living thing, to every creepy crawly thing, to even the things that frighten you. Hold light around everything, every plant, every animal, every stone. Not just the beautiful things that are easy to see, but maybe even some of the plain things that go ignored, largely ignored and unseen. Send your light to those things. Trust in your power. Whenever you find yourself in any sort of a difficult situation or the object of projection, if you respond in this way on an internal level, you have the potential to completely shift the entire interaction, especially if you can do it before it ever becomes a conversation. And watch transformation take place. Thank all of your spirit guides, your animal guides, guardian angels, helpers and allies, ancestors, all that has all come to assist you today. Thank you for their assistance. And as they step away now, come back to your body, come back to your breath, wiggle your fingers and your toes. And whenever you're ready, open your eyes. Namaste.